Alright, here I am. I have Lightroom open. I've selected my image. This tiny human will be the subject. I've made adjustments over here, make some more. When we're doing a bitmap conversion or a halftone conversion, more contrast and a lighter tone is better. Otherwise, we get what is known as dot gain. So I'm going to pump up the exposure a little bit. So you'll notice the whites are whiter. Right here I have it turned on so I can see where things are being blown out. You can turn that on or off. I'll turn it off. It's this little triangle up here. Same thing with you can do with the blacks. I don't want no one-way blacks, but you can even just roll over it. So that's all the darkest darks, lightest lights here. If I pull up my exposure all the way, you can see I'm blowing everything completely out. I'm going to bring it just right to the edge, and now I'm going to add some contrast. And so you can see low contrast. I'm going to bring a little bit down just so that when I do my bitmap conversion or halftone conversion, sorry, I'm saying two different things. When I do the halftone conversion, I want to have a little bit more brightness, a little bit more contrast. So I'm going to bring the contrast up a little bit, and I'm done. And you can mess around with other things that you want to change in your. You can pull the highlights or not. I'm good for now. I think this is pretty good. I'm going to go to my file, export, or I can just right click on this and go to export down here, and I'm going to just hit export. Specified folder, I have it set to my desktop right now. You can choose anywhere you want. I'm just going to work for my desktop for this video. And then I'll click export. I have maximum file size. I don't want to resize to fit anything. If I did want to, I could hit resize to fit, turn this to inches, go down to, we can hit 60 inches, but I'm not going to have it in large at all, so I'm going to leave that alone. And then I'm just going to click export. Okay. I already have one on the desktop. I'm going to overwrite the one I have, and then it's exporting that one file. It's all done. I minimize Lightroom. I have a file open in Photoshop, so I'm going to close that. And then there's my image right there that's sitting on my desktop, this tiny little human. Open that up. The first thing I want to do, I'm going to mess around with my brightness levels. Again, we want a brighter image to reduce dot gain, so I'm going to brighten it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add some contrast again. So just doing that again in Photoshop. We can do a little bit more work in levels, maybe if we want to move those grays up a little bit, like that, maybe there. I'm pretty good now. Now, one thing I have to do, I have to merge this all back down into one image. Otherwise, the filters and things that we're going to do won't work. So I right-click on the little layers menu panel, pull out, and flatten image. This can also be known as a hamburger. So now I have a background image. It's flattened. I need to desaturate this image. I'm actually just going to go. So one way you can do that is Command-Shift-U. So it'll take out that I had a little bit of sepia tone because of the way I was doing black and white in Lightroom. So I'm going to hit Command U. It's completely desaturated now. Or other way to do that is go to Image. We can do desaturate. Adjustments desaturate. It's right there. Or I'm just going to convert this to a grayscale image because that's what we really want it to be. It's going to freak me out. Discard color information. And I'm going to say yes. We don't need any color information. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is go to image, and we're going to change the size. If you remember, we're going to print these out at approximately 5 feet high, or if you're doing a 5 foot wide. So at that 5 feet times 12, 5 times 12 is 60 inches. So we're going to type in 60 inches on our longest side. Leave 300 resolution. You'll notice the width is now 40 inches. We'll have to do some cropping. And I'm going to hit OK and watch my Photoshop do some math, do some number crunching. And voila, I have a much larger picture, right? And it's going to be much more. I can print this, but you see all this stuff, it's bad for resolution. And so what this halftone screening allows us to do is print something at a different resolution, but appear to be in resolution. It kind of sidesteps the jagged JPEG-y artifacts. And so the next thing I'm going to do is crop this image down to 36 inches. And I have some settings on my crop up here. I'm just going to tell it I want to do original ratio. And so I can move this around. And so I just pull my right. Actually, I have it locked. I don't want it on ratio. I'm just going to keep it on ratio. And no, that's not going to do it either. Width and height resolution. I need to delete these ratios out of here. One. I was messing around with my crop, so I have a, there we go. Now I can do whatever I want with it, right? Yeah. Okay, if you have anything in there, all you do is hit this clear and it will let you do, but you want your crop set to ratio, and then you want nothing in there, so you can do what you want. We want the crop to be 60 inches, and then I'm going to move this crop over and it just cropped it for me, sorry. There's my crop. Remember, I want that to be at 36 inches, so I'm just going to pull this over to 36. And that's 36 inches is 3 feet. And then maybe I'm like, I don't really quite like where it's positioned at, so maybe I move the image one way or the other. I'm going to crop it on that side and hit return. And there's the image we're working with. If we go up to image size, we can see that it is now 60 by 36. For all practical purposes, that's 5 foot high by 3 foot wide. So at 300 pixels per inch. Okay, next we're going to go to filter, and we're going to go to pixelate and color halftone. We're going to set all channels to 45 degrees. I've been messing around with this, so mine are already all set to 45. Yours will not be. They'll be whatever the defaults are. And then I've been playing around with where I want these. I'm going to say anywhere between 10 and 20 pixels is where you want to be, and how you want to have this set up. Any less and it gets kind of weird. And any more, it gets too fine. It's too fine of a pixel grid. So, and we start to see some of the artifacts. So I'll hit OK. I'm going to leave this at 20. Hit OK. And so now you'll see, well, if I zoom in, you can see those halftone dots. Some of you, I showed a different way to do this. This one is much easier and less confusing, and gives a nice round dot. Okay, and then all you would do, a couple things you can check is image size. So we'll see this file is only about 185 megabytes, which is pretty small. We'll hit OK. You'd save that image file, save as. And again, I'm just going to save mine to the desktop. I'm going to say a little human, halftone, 20 pixels. Okay, and hit save. So I have that. I'm going to say large file as possible. Hit OK. And now I can print that out. So at 20, we get pretty small dots. If we change that pixel size, that dot size, again, go to filter, and I'm just showing here for example of changing it. Pixelate, color halftone. You don't color halftone over a color halftone, but that max radius size, we can change that down to 10. Don't do this from this point, like you go step back. So I'm going to go Alt-Z until I don't have those dots. You'd want to work from there. So maybe I would save this image file, save as a little human halftone source. So I know this is the one. It's already resized. I probably would even do something like Shift 3 by 5, so that I knew that I was a 3 by 5 dimensions, and then hit save. I'm going to leave that color profile off and hit save. And OK. And then I can work from that every time I want to. It's over here. I can work from it every time I want to do a new halftone. I'll show one more example, filter. So I'm over exaggerating on this one to emphasize the size of the color halftone. Go to color halftone. 20 is as big as you'd want to be, and so I'm going to go really small and say 5 pixels. And so that's the largest the dot can be, and you'll see lots and lots and lots of tiny. So you can barely see the change now. If we zoom in, those dots are super duper tiny. Anything past 10 is you start to see some of the blemishes. So up here, you start to see some of the blemishes we're trying to get to bypass from our resizing of the image. So don't go below 10. A 10 pixel radius, and don't go above a 20. After 20, the dots seem to get a little too big. They're okay, but I wouldn't go above 20. So up to you what you pick, anywhere between 10 and 20. Maybe see what you do. I printed out tests at 10, 15, and 20. You could do a test at 12, a test at 16, a test at 20, and see what you like, see what looks best. And to do that test, all I do is file, print, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do, step back once. I'm going to do a filter on the color halftone at 20, so a big dot. And see, I have my big dots. I'm going to go file, print, and you can see my dots. I'm going to move. I like to see the face. It gives me kind of a sense of what's going on. And then I'll just hit print, and it's going to, so I'm printing on an 8.5 by 11. I'll hit print. It's going to tell me it'll give me some choices, and if I go to print this, it'll print and prints on an 8.5 by 11, and I'm all done. Okay. If you get a warning, picture size is bigger than print size, just hit OK. You just need to see a little bit. And so I printed out 3 or 4 different dot sizes on 8.5 by 11 and picked the one I liked the most. So anywhere between 10 and 20. Once you're done with that, you file, save your document, as I already have one saved right here. This is the document I'm going to take to either the MMC, cost $15 to print, or down to standard blueprint or standard print works downtown. Okay. Any questions, send me an email, shoot me a message on Messenger. Any problems, let me know. I'm here to help. Have a great day.